evening and welcome to the August 11th, 2020 regular meeting of the Roswell Independent School District. I now call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please, Ms. Whitcomb?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez, Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards.
Here.
Now the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry.
Ay, gracias a Dios se la callé.
Oh, qué bueno, qué
Son
bueno.
$200.
Sí, sí. Dele.
Gracias, muy amable.
Ándele, sí.
Is that reverberation or is that? Mute our participants.
Okay. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Ms. President, there are no modifications to the agenda.
May I have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
I have a motion made by Ms. Sanchez and a second made by Ms. Kirk. May I have a roll call vote?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
The ayes have it and the motion carried. We're going to begin this evening with recognition. Mr. Jerry Holm will come up to be recognized for his service and dedication to the district.
Mr. President, members of the board, audience, there are many wonderful staff members in our community of Roswell Independent School District, and I always hate to single one person out, but there are those individuals that we need to bring forth to the board and recognize them for all their hard work, their dedication. Not that we don't have a lot of hard work and dedication staff members, but Jerry has done a lot of things for us, and I've put him under a tremendous pressure this year to get a lot of stuff done in a very short window, and he's by himself. So at this time, and there's actually a new video he just posted, and it'd be really cute to show, but I don't think we have the time. It's a new health video that's
Yeah, I saw it.
online. You saw it?
Yeah.
Very good. So at this time, board members, I'd like to introduce Jerry Holmes. He's our media person. Now, we have lots of different people, but Jerry, thank you for everything you do. I know what you do sometimes seems at 12 o'clock at night when you get emails from Jennifer and I, no, that's not going to work, Jerry. That's a little frustrating, but we thank you very much for all you do, and we appreciate the efforts that you put forth. So, members of the board,
Speech? You want to say a few words, Jerry? No. Man of little
It's a
will.
funny year.
Microphone.
Sorry.
It's been a funny and unusual year, but I think we're getting the message out, and all of you have been really supportive of what I've done, and it's been fun. It's been interesting, and we'll keep doing it. So thank you for this. It's nice to feel appreciated.
now I will tell you, board members, when he came to videotape me for new teacher, he was a little frustrated. By the third take, he was finished. I am not one of those video people like Ken was, like
But we
you
got
saw
it in
last
3.
week. But we got it through, so.
Any words from the board?
Mr. Holmes, I just want to say I'm constantly impressed by your remarkable talents and the technology skills, and I want to thank you for your hard work. I know that every time I need help, somebody is always there ready to guide me through what I have. But anyway, I found a quote that I think applies to me. It says, once a new technology rolls over you, if you're not part of the steamroller, you're going to be part of the road. So that's how I feel. Thank you for your help.
I may steal that.
Yeah. Excellent, Jerry. I'm so impressed with your work. You constantly amaze me. And I'm waiting to take that photography class. So when
We're
you get
going
back,
there.
when you get a chance and things open
We're
up,
going to do it.
I'll be there. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
And Jerry, I think whenever you started in this role, it seemed like it was going to be a nice to have, an addition in the district, celebrate some of the work, and I think you've proven that it is a true necessity. You're getting valuable information out there in a quality professional way. I don't think, people realize how much of the detailed time and energy your work requires. Like even the graduation, capturing hundreds of student photos, like to the informational videos that you're putting out. I just want you to know we see you each
Welcome
and
to
every
the
day,
audio
and I hope
conferencing
you feel the
center.
respect and the
Please
value that
enter
we
a
have for you.
conference
So thank
ID
you so
followed
much.
by pound.
And for any folks that we have on the phone line, if you can please mute if you're not talking, we're hearing some of the background noise. And Jerry, we will have a certificate from the board for you just to acknowledge your work and our appreciation for you.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I will tell you, his wife does a bang-up job, too.
English, press 1. Para español, presione 2.
Okay, we still have somebody on the phone line.
No, I think that's our system itself.
Okay, well, we'll work on that for the audience.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. And we're gonna move on with the informational items. Mac Rogers is here to present information on construction plans for Nancy
English,
Lopez and
press-
Mesa Middle School.
Matt, come on up, please.
Good evening, Ms. Morales, Mr. Gottlieb, members of the board. Here we go. So as you know, we've been working on plans for Mesa Middle School with our building committee and our design team, and this is a rendering we'd like to show off. It's a community space next to a new gymnasium on this side, with a bright open stairwell over here to a new classroom wing. So here's where the Pride area is located on the floor plan, with our new gym on this side. All new classroom wings over here. We've got an aux gym, a band room, locker rooms, an admin suite on the south side of the site, adjacent to an exceptional ed area with the cafeteria and library on the corners. Here's the second floor of the classroom wing with general ed classrooms and two science classrooms. Here's a rendering of the two-story classroom wing from the east side. We've got a pick-up and drop-off plaza on the east side with parents picking up and dropping off their kids over here. A new track and field on the north side of the site.
I'm sorry, what?
A new track and field
I see.
on the north side of the site. The pickup and drop-off area has nice circulation to the cafeteria, with access for food trucks. So we've got a 50-50 renovation versus new construction scheme, with this and this being our new construction areas, and all of this outlined in green being our renovated areas. And so if you're familiar with Mesa, there's sort of an undeveloped 2-acre lot on the east side that the school district has inherited over the years. And so we realized, as we've moved Mesa Middle School to the east, that there's an opportunity for these vacated classrooms for Nancy Lopez. So,
But
Nan-
explain that,
Yeah.
explain that.
Yeah.
Explain it.
No,
Hold
we'll
on.
get there, we'll get there.
Hold on. So, so Nancy Lopez is adjacent to Mesa. Nancy Lopez is next on the schedule to get rebuilt after Mesa. And so maybe we could use the old Mesa as a temporary school building while Nancy Lopez is going through their construction process.
Awesome.
So, Ms. Kirk, if you remember what it's like to go through a remodel?
Yes, I do.
All right, Ms. Sanchez, do you remember how miserable that is?
I sure do.
Well, go back to that real quick, can you imagine if you're not at, be it a new school or remodel school for Nancy Lopez, we don't know yet, because PSCOC will tell us what the expectations are. You move the kids here,
But will that give enough room?
there's plenty enough
It would.
room here.
It
We
would.
will have to share lunch times, but that's gonna tell you about recess and everything else, but if you think all the kids are here, construction's going over there, you don't have to put up with all the noise.
Exactly. So the beauty of this, and I'll just chime in real quick, is it does a couple of things for us. It actually speeds up our construction process.
For Nancy?
You're not having to do a phased construction separately at Nancy Lopez. You're bringing those folks into the building in the existing wing. There's plenty of space. And of course, our goal is to get as many of these projects dirt moving as possible. Just looking in terms of how the state's doing and the matching funds we've already been granted.
So PSCOC is allowing that with the additional space, knowing that it's not needed? They're allowing us to keep that?
Eventually, we'll take it down.
It would be, yes, it
Yeah.
would be taken down.
I think they're for utilizing older buildings as a swing space to make way for other construction
Well, I could
projects.
see them where that would save us in additional moving and the cost of moving of the
Moving.
temporary
Right.
buildings,
Time.
yeah.
Money,
Portables,
So, yeah.
safety, just,
so
this
they'll
is
be
really-
actually in a building instead of in portables. And those principals that have been through that with the poor staff,
It's
they
horrible
know
having
that
to
during
move them.
construction in portables, it's even worse than being inside, because the shaking and the noise is tenfold.
For
Yes.
that and just coming into the building and
You know that during construction in portables, it's even more.
eventually everybody has to be out there in kindergartners. It's just navigating that so difficult.
That's
You know that during construction in portables.
Oh. Could I ask a question?
Sure.
So what are we talking about, the projected years for the planning and the construction of these schools until the staff and students can move in, can move in? I mean,
Good question. So, at the end of school year 2022, so July and August of 2022, potentially, we have construction completed at the Mesa Middle School building.
So tell them when Mesa starts.
So we're looking to start Mesa, subject to the bidding process and permit approval and PSCOC approval later this fall and winter.
So bid in October, November timeframe, January construction timeframe, roughly considering COVID and all the other issues.
And then continue for Nancy Lopez. So that's what Ms. Sanchez says, but I didn't want to leave out the Mesa project in
Right.
that too.
So they would be done simultaneously?
No.
No.
No. So, at the end of school year 2022, so July, August 2022, we'd have the Mesa building completed. We would have the pickup and drop off and parking completed for Mesa. We would have the track and field completed for Mesa. And then in August of 2022, potentially, Nancy Lopez could occupy the old Mesa building and construction could start on Nancy Lopez. And they would have Hinkle to use as pickup and drop off for Nancy Lopez. They would have the existing parking lot for Nancy Lopez parking. They would have this area in here for a potential playground.
So where would you put the chain link fence to separate them, so that board understands separations?
So you could have a nice, temporary chain link fence along here,
Okay.
separating Nancy Lopez from Mesa.
The secondary. So the only commingling then would be the cafeteria
Well, maybe.
and the gym?
Those details haven't been quite worked out. I think we would work those out as we're going through the process with the principals. But I think there are some things we could do to really limit the commingling during gym times.
Scheduling, yeah.
Or cafeteria times.
That would be my only concern.
You know, as it stands now, you know, there are 3 assembly spaces between the 2 schools. So Nancy Lopez has 1 multi-purpose room. Mesa has 1 gym and 1 cafeteria. So once this building is complete, you have 2 gyms and 1 cafeteria. So you have the same amount of assembly spaces.
And that's a really big deal for our middle schools. As board members, you know that Mesa is the only middle school in town that only has 1 gym. And so PSFA doesn't pay for additional gyms. So that's something we've been planning for a long time to get there. And while this project will speed things up for Nancy Lopez, we've got to consider that Nancy Lopez is essentially about a year behind, just because they've got to go through design, and that typically takes 12 to 15 months.
The only good thing I'm hoping, Mr. Cole, is that PSCOC sees the initiative that the board and the district is taking on
Absolutely.
providing a safe and more secure area for the students as we move forward.
Absolutely, and I think you're right on the money. I think they are looking at those things. Fortunately, when we started this process with you, Mr. Gottlieb, back in 2005, we've established a very good reputation with the PSCOC, particularly Mac Rogers and his professionalism when he goes and visits with them, and they know we will move the dirt.
And board members, for your knowledge, so that if anything comes up after I'm gone, is that we set that $6 million aside. Now, the reason we set that aside is back in 2008 when I was here, we had a downturn. Not as bad as this downturn, but a pretty bad downturn. So I had the board set aside money. And what we did is actually loan the money to PSCOC because they didn't have the money because things were dire straits. So we loaned them the money for the construction of our schools, and then they paid us back when they could.
And I'll just chime in, we didn't actually loan to them, that was the plan.
That was our plan.
That was the plan, and we didn't have to, because their money started to come back in a couple of years
But we
later.
gave them the opportunity to
Yes.
say, we actually have money to lend you
Yes.
so that Mesa doesn't get put on hold, Nancy Lopez doesn't get put on hold, Mountain View doesn't get on hold, because now you have that money to say, hey, we have a process. Here's the process, here's the safe steps, here's those things in line. And I know that's hard for a lot of the public people to understand, but when you promise a community, you promise the voters that you're going to do something, then you better do it. And you figure out a way to get it done. So, and it's way past time for Mesa and Nancy Lopez, Mountain View, and Washington Avenue. Go ahead.
I have one
Thank
more
you.
question, Mr. Rogers.
Sure.
On the new gym, are you going to install new bleachers there?
Right.
Where's the new
So
one?
we will. There's bleachers, seating for over 600 people
Okay,
right here.
awesome. And that track is an all-weather track?
Yes, I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are you sure, before you say you believe so, are you sure that it's gonna be all weather? You know the difference.
Yes, it's going to be a 3-lane asphalt track,
Okay.
as we have
And
at
the other
Sierra and
schools?
Brendo.
Okay, because
All-
there's a
all-weather
difference in
track.
all-weather track and what you're talking about, and if you, and I'm not saying that you don't know what you're talking about, but the all-weather track is used for all sports, and it's not just asphalt. Your all-weather
Right.
track is normally what like you see it out at the Wool Bowl.
We'll get you some specifics on that, Mr.
I
Evans.
bet you it's not an all-weather track.
Right.
If it's like Berindo and Mesa, Mount
It's more basic than
Sierra,
an
it's a
all-weather
basic track.
It's a basic track,
Yeah.
but we'll get you the
Be-
details. We'll
Because if
follow
you go
up.
to an all-weather track, Mr. Edwards is right, you have to go with that top coating
Yes, sir.
and all that on it.
It's a different
Talk of
surface,
money.
yes.
Yeah.
So what is the total amount that's going to be spent to build Mesa and Nancy Lopez?
Right, so the total project cost for Mesa would be $20.5 million, and the total project cost for Nancy Lopez is $10.8 million.
Is how much?
$10.8 million.
essentially 21 million for Mesa, 11 million for Nancy Lopez, based on total square feet. So Mesa's 72,000 square feet, Nancy Lopez is estimating 35,000 square feet. So the district's cost in that, we've received matching awards for both. The district's cost for Mesa Middle School is 6.1 million thereabouts. Now some of this is subject to change as we get through design and get into the contracting, but not much change. Also, Nancy Lopez, the district's portion would be 3.2 million for a total of 9.3 million. We currently have 11 million in cash in our bond fund, thanks to the voters of Chaves County. As you know, we've been planning these projects for a long time. We also have 7 million remaining that the voters approved from our last bond election that we have not issued because of the COVID-19 issues in the markets at the time last year when we originally scheduled our sale. So we'd like to have a sale this year. I'd like to bring those to you in the coming months ahead. Go ahead and get that remaining 7 million sold. That would put us at 18 million cash in the bank in our bond fund for these projects. We just talked about 9.3 being the district's total cost on these two projects. Then we've got Washington Avenue and Mountain View. So those things are doable if everything holds.
But
Sir.
you also have your cash reserve, that 6 million, in case, as you well know, even though they say there's not much inflation, inflation is there.
It
So
is.
the board has that in case so instead of saying, oh, we can only have a 400 bleacher instead of 600, you can say, no, we want to stick with the 600, and this is where we'll get it from. So that kind of, you have help in a variety of ways. You're given opportunities for PSCLC if they run out of funds. Excuse me, Mr. Ellis. If they run out of funds, they have that available. You have that available. And then you also have the plan to move Nancy Lopez over for a safe environment. And then you also have money if you have the case of a cost increase. So,
And cost increases do happen on a regular basis, particularly with construction, particularly when the world's markets are on back order for various things, and there's some power struggles going on in the markets in terms of construction.
well, a good example, Mr. Cole, and I won't name the projects, but there was a project being done here in the city.
Yes,
And the heating and cooling ventilation system went up 15%.
yes, yeah.
Those kinds of costs are huge.
They are, and we always have them, particularly in years like this when there's so many things going on. The decisions we're making right now will impact what we're able to do 2 years from now. And so we're trying to put all the things in place. But you think in terms of how much the state is matching us at 71% of the total cost. These other projects that are a little further outbound, Washington Avenue, Mountain View, it would be very easy to say, you know what, you guys are a couple of years out on those. We're going to take our matching funds back on those. So we're trying to plan for all of those and do exactly what we promised the voters of Chaves County we'd do, knowing full well that we're on a 4-year bond cycle, a 6-year 2 mil cycle, and that 4-year bond cycle is not going to come up next year, but the year after. And so if we want to continue forward looking towards Roswell High, we've certainly got to do it right.
Good. Thank you.
Mac, what else do you have for us?
So these are things we talked about: an accelerated construction schedule, better site supervision because we have more teachers on site, and Mesa has a security guard that could potentially observe Nancy Lopez as well while they're on site. Separating students from construction. I don't know if we touched on this, but Nancy Lopez, as it stands now, has a smaller site, so it would be difficult to have school operations and construction operations on the same site. And I think there's some benefit to the shared assembly spaces like we were talking about. Nancy Lopez can, schedule with Mesa the use of the main gym and the bleachers for assemblies and events such as that. And then we're also looking for 2 board members to serve on our Nancy Lopez Building Committee for the development of ed specs. So,
Is that the
if
middle
anyone
one?
would like to volunteer.
Is that the one along with Mason?
I would like to
Okay.
volunteer.
I'll go ahead and do that one.
So you
Okay,
got two
perfect.
members right there.
So Ms. Whitcamp, if we can add that for the minutes, please.
You do miss.
I'm sorry?
We
No, I've
can
already
add
did-
that for
The
the
Mason one's
minutes.
already done.
Okay.
I'm already.
Who's the other?
Me and-
So,
Right.
Excellent.
any more questions?
How about any
comments?
updates for Del Norte for the board? We need the ribbon cutting, and Mr. Edwards has 2 students that would like to help with the ribbon cutting, Matt.
Sure. Del Norte's looking great. We got our temporary certificate of occupancy this week. So teachers can start getting in there and setting up their classrooms. I think the building's gonna be something our community can be proud of for years to come. I'm looking at, scheduling the ribbon cutting for the first week in September, right before Labor Day. So maybe, Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning, just before Labor Day, and we can have
So-
Mr. Edwards' students.
Hold on, so we can talk about dates, so we can publicly do that. So if we're looking at Thursday in September, that would be Thursday the 3rd, board members. Morning, afternoon, what time would be better for you guys? I know you have different schedules.
September the 3rd.
I'm good that day.
Anytime you said,
Any day on that time?
yeah.
And Mr. Edwards, Mac, will you get in touch with Mr. Edwards? So what we'd like to have is the 4 board members, the 2 kids, and the principal there, and of course the newspaper. I'll be there, but I won't be in the picture, so that we can have that. And then Jerry's working on a virtual of Del Norte
Right, so we're gonna do that the same week.
the same week, okay?
Okay, did you say the morning or the afternoon of the
They're
How about if
asking
you just
us-
email
Okay.
you guys, so you have it in writing?
You know, the one thing that I'll say is, I was impressed the way you conducted the business on the Mesa Middle School, because I got invited I went to a couple of the meetings, and I saw that there was a lot of buy-in, and the staff actually got a lot of choices. And you were real open, I know that y'all were real open to some of the changes that they had made. And that was quite impressive. You didn't try to shove it down anybody's throat, but it's gonna be a nice building, you know. Mesa, people better watch out. I'm just gonna say that. They better be careful, because Mesa's coming up.
Long overdue.
Yes. And I'm talking, it's got good staff, it's got good leadership. It's coming up. And I'm not saying that it's always been down, but I see a lot of improvement. And kudos to you for putting those meetings together and inviting their staff to take part, because they had a real strong committee, and they were very vocal. So kudos to yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. I think it's really important in school construction that you work with all of your stakeholders, and you really try to build a consensus about how the school's going to operate and look and all of those things, because the teachers are the ones who use it every day, and they know best.
And Mac, a suggestion, and I know we have to go out for bid and everything else, but I will say the architectural firm, because I went to, Mr. Edwards couldn't make a couple meetings, so he said, Mike, will you go for me and let me know how those things go? And the 2 meetings I went, they were very open, very thorough. They listened to the staff, as Mr. Edwards. And then, as you well know, as you visit the school, the construction company did an outstanding job. And they let us go through, very courteous, very kind, and they did an outstanding job. So it's been this project's been very pleasant. There's not been some in the past, I promise you.
And I just want to add and acknowledge the district. Thank you all for making sure that these schools are a priority right now. It has been long overdue. So to know that we are continuing to move forward, especially in the times where we face so many obstacles related to finance and budget, I want to say I'm pleased to know that we're kind of keeping that $6 million as part of this with the schools as a priority in case we need it. I don't want to get to the point where we have to slow down or stop or there's wrinkles going through. I think it's important, like you said, that we keep our word to the community and we have the backup plan so that we can do that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you all.
And I also want to throw my 2 cents in there. I'm going to piggyback off what Mr. Gottlieb said. I agree. And when you go local, and the construction firm was local, they have a vested interest in our community, and they're going to provide the help and the attention that the site needs. I found that when I was at Valley View and we were under construction. They were a local entity, construction company, and I had so much more help and relief from that company than I know Military Heights was in the same process, and it was more difficult. I even had the construction site, the owner, on speed dial, so if anything went wrong, I just called him up and he was right there.
We're fortunate that we have
Yeah.
some great constructors, Holloway Construction,
Yeah.
Wade
Wade,
Construction, and there's,
Yeah, Wade's doing this.
I always
and Wade
forget
did
somebody, but
mine.
we've got
Mhm.
some really good
Yeah.
constructors. Their families go to our schools,
Yep.
their kiddos go to our schools.
And they want the best.
And they work great.
Yeah,
We've got some great local subcontractors as well.
That's true.
Good.
Yes, we do.
And they do a great job for us as well.
nice. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Mac, appreciate
you.
it.
Now we're gonna move on to the approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of June 14th, 2020,
Should be July.
July 14th, 2020, and July 31st of 2020, the special board meeting.
Are there any modifications to the minutes of the regular board meeting on July 14th and July 31st special board meeting?
No.
Okay, I have one thing. Under our special board meeting for July 14th, under the action items, the board, we actually took a vote on the process for the District 3 vacancy. We had 4 in favor for that process, so we need to add that vote to the minutes.
Okay.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
With
With
noted.
modification.
With the noted
modification.
Thank you. Motion for, with modification. Thank you, Ms. Kirk. May I have a second?
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the minutes with modification by Ms. Kirk with a second by Mr. Edwards. May I have a roll call?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
The ayes have it and the motion carried. We'll now move on to inquiries and general comments. Ms. Whitcamp, has anyone requested to speak?
No, ma'am.
Aren't you lucky?
And the consent agenda is now up.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent agenda, to approve the July bills, authorize August bills, and approve July bars.
Is there any discussion? Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I second.
We have a motion by Ms. Kirk with the second by Ms. Sanchez. May I have a roll call vote?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
The ayes have it and the motion carried. Okay. Action items are next on the agenda.
Okay, let me get to A real quick. Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the first book award. We do have Ms. Cole available for any questions.
Is there any discussion?
I have a
For the audience, this is where we received a donation for our 350 fully configured Chromebooks, 445 Lego Education Early Simple machines for sets grade K through 2, 42 Lego Education Simple machines for grades 3 through 5, same thing, 45 for grades 4 through 8, 130 Lego Education Spikes primer sets for grades 6 through 8, and a $4,000 stipend to help subsidize the cost for internets for the family you serve. And like I said, Ms. Cole is online. She can talk about the award if you have any questions. It's a wonderful award.
Ms. Sanchez?
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Cole, who determines which families are going to be able to qualify for that stipend?
Hello, Ms. Sanchez. So for the internet stipend, That needs to go to is that what you're asking? I'm sorry, I'm having a very difficult time hearing tonight. So you were asking about the stipend?
Yes.
Okay, so that goes to a facility that would be willing to support our students who are using the 350 Chromebooks. And so we part of us being eligible for this award is that we are a Title I district. And so we have that low socioeconomic percentage, and so those will be allocated out among the elementary schools with priority with the lower of the low socioeconomic schools. And so we haven't decided which entity that will go to yet.
So, Ms. Cole, for help Ms. Sanchez out, because I know where she's going with this, would that be several hot spots within those areas up to what we can
Yes.
afford, $4,000 for 1 year? Would that be is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir, to both of those questions, yes.
Okay.
So would that stipend for the hot spots just for that 1 year, would we have to pick it up consecutively, or would it just stop after that?
It would just stop after that unless the grant is offered again and we are eligible to apply for it again.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions on those Chromebooks. Would you be able to provide a list of what schools this went to in the grade level?
Yes, we would be we
Okay.
would certainly be happy to provide that. So, and I also have to just comment that Jennifer Bolaños and Kristen Salyards worked on this grant, did a great job. It was the first one they had written together.
Wow.
And so, yes, we will absolutely provide that list to you.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Cole, on some of the other items where there's only 42 and 45 sets, is that going to go to a certain school or certain students, and how are we going to determine who gets those supplies?
Again, Ms. Morales, it was written based on the percentages of low socioeconomic students at each school. And so those are the schools that are prioritized for those sets of Legos, and we can certainly send all of that information to you.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. I think I answered my own question. So it's 45 sets,
For K
providing for 45 different locations or classrooms, right? So it's not,
Yes.
it's not for 45 students, it's
No,
45 sets.
45 sets.
Yes, it's sets.
That sounds good.
Any other questions?
What is that Lego Education Spike Simple Prime sets for the 6th and 8th graders? 6th to 8th grade.
I apologize, Ms. Sanchez, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, my question is, it says 130 Lego Education Spike Simple Prime sets for the 6th and 8th graders. What is that exactly?
They're just they're sets for STEM activities
Okay.
for our 4 middle schools.
Oh, that's even better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Edwards with a second by Ms. Sanchez. May I have a roll call vote?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kurt,
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and we'll go on to the next item. The Roswell High Youth Development Grant Application.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the Roswell High School Youth Development Grant application. And we do have Mr. Carrasco here tonight for any questions. Mr. Carrasco, will you come on up, please?
Good evening.
Good evening, senor.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carrasco.
Good evening, Madam President Morales, members of the board, Mr. Gottlieb. I'm here to request permission to be given the opportunity to apply for a grant for, that comes from the MLB and the MLB Players Association Youth Development Foundation that Coach Curtis so diligently found, that gives us an opportunity to apply for a grant. Right now, no pun intended, we want to swing for the fences and see what we can find. We feel that with the upgrades that the district has already done last year and what are planning to do now, that would be enough of a commitment to an improvement of a local and regional youth sports facility, that possibly the MLB and this youth foundation might come in and give us enough money where possibly we could have lights put on there. The district has already wired and everything. Really, the only thing we need is that expense of the lights. And the one thing that the grant does is that you have to show evidence of that you've upgraded the facility. And of course, with last year's allotment that the district so generously tried to get there. And the plans for this year, we think that that's going to be a sufficient amount, enough that if we can get close to a match on that with them, that might be what can get us over the top to have a playing surface on campus, so that hopefully it would behoove all of our ISD to have that there, and definitely the people that wear red and white over there. I'll be more than happy to entertain any
Mr.
questions.
Carrasco, how much are you guys applying for?
Really the amount's based on how much you've spent. We're hoping that we can get a couple $100,000 that would be able to pay for the lights. Of course, if it's not, then if you look there, what I provided to you, it kind of gives a list of what you're able to do. The capital projects include building, renovating, and renovating fields and practice facilities and installing lights. So what we're hoping is that we're going to request for the full amount, and especially as it matches to what we spent, which I think, Chad, has been over a couple $100,000, right,
So
once you put it together?
2 million on the fields now, the
Yeah,
baseball field
It's-
alone.
And
we
then
can
we've
get you some
added some
numbers.
more this year, so I would also throw in there a scoreboard, because those things get extreme expensive quickly, and particularly if you get the right connections, so it's wireless. And what the heck?
Absolutely swing for the fences.
Throw in
Look-
for the stadium
yeah.
stands.
So that's really what we're hoping is, and of course, based on what the district has spent, we're going to hope, and I know that $2 million was for the entire area, so
Right.
what was spent on the baseball field is kind of what we'll try to model.
We
but-
can
We'll
give
get you a
you that
breakdown.
So,
figure.
right, as we, that's kind of our plan, and hopefully, like I said, anything that we can get extra is always.
Mr.
Plus.
Carrasco, if there's anything we can do from the accounting side to help you out with the application or tax ID numbers, please let us know.
And evidently, we got some good grant writers in the district with
Ms.
Ms.
Bolaños,
Bolaños
yeah.
and her team, so
Yeah.
we'll definitely reach out to everybody, but, no, absolutely, so we just wanted to get permission to go ahead and move forward with this grant.
And
to try
I
to get-
think what Mr. Cole said is very important, that you list what the board has already spent on that field, trying to bring something to the youth on the south side of Roswell High, for Roswell High,
Good
instead
idea.
of going clearing out to the complex out at
The
the
co-
fairgrounds. Even though the district spent a lot of money out there, it would be a nice opportunity to have both. So make sure you get all the figures, including what's being spent this fall in that, so that the grant application, we can put on there exactly what's been done to this point and what we're asking for.
Absolutely, and I do want to, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't really highlight Mr. Curtis for, he's the coach out there, and he's done a great job of going out there, and instead of just asking, what can the district do for me and for our program, I think he's done a great job of going out there and seeking. So I do feel like our program's in great hands, and we're definitely going to do everything we can to support him, so I want to recognize him. And before I forget, you guys, Mr. Holmes, as you guys know, has been invaluable to me. We meet every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, and he's there like clockwork, so that was a great recognition also. So thank you for your time. If you have no more questions.
Mr.
Oh,
Edwards?
Mr. Edwards.
Okay, So the field has already been wired for the lights?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that was
That's what I've seen. If you walk out there, I don't know how many sites, I think it's 7 or 8 areas. As you walk the fence line in the back and across the left and right field and the backstop, you can see, actually got the electrical tops on
Okay.
them right now that's holding the place. The conduit's already been set and all that, so that's one of those things that, and I love, that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned the capital projects include building and renovating fields and practice facilities, including the lights, because if we're able to get a substantial amount, we would definitely want to look at the other needs that we have around there as for the field, to make it a playable field.
So where does Roswell High currently I know they
Yeah.
practice out at Joe Baum Stadium out
At
here.
Coke Field, yes, sir.
Right, at Coke Field. So currently that field's not even used for practice? The field at Roswell High?
That's correct, since, it is used for certain activities whenever they don't have time to get out there, and things
Okay.
like that. I'm not gonna say it hasn't been used, it's just not consistently used because of the lack of its, once you start going live, it's like a little league fence for them. So, I know some of those things, Mr. Golub has already, been with Mac Rogers, and there's already the next stage of upgrading.
next-
that.
Okay.
The
That's-
next stage will make it a much more
Yeah.
usable field, Mr.
Okay.
Edwards. That was one of the big issues is there, previously, there was some pre-planning, but there wasn't enough pre-planning. For example, the fence, some of the dirt work, it
Right.
didn't meet the needs of what was having a high school baseball team, particular young men who are extremely strong,
Gotcha.
who can hit a ball a long ways. Those things were not researched enough, in my opinion. And so we're looking to upgrade it so the field can be used on a regular basis. Now, it won't be a playing field until we get the lights, the scoreboard,
Right.
stadium stands, and I'm lost for words. The stadium stands and then the booth
Press box.
with
Box.
the observation booth, so you can put your announcers up there, your scorekeeper up there, and those things.
And I believe that the phase 2 that Mr. Golub was referring to gets us where it's pretty close. And I'm really hoping that this grant comes through for us and we could get it to where we could get those items. Because we know the situation with the money and all that, and we feel blessed at Roswell High that we're gonna have this phase 2 move forward once it gets going.
Okay.
Ms. Sanchez?
Thank you. Mr. Carrasco, is there a date or a deadline to apply for this grant?
Not that we know of,
Okay.
and that's a great question. I'll look at that, and Mr. Curtis and I are going to work on it and really ask for those people with experience that have written grants before. As of right now, I'm sure they have a year
Okay.
a cycle, but I'm not sure what that is. So if we've missed it for this year, we'll catch the next one,
Well, it says
however
the
it is.
foundation accepts applications throughout the year.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as the date, I haven't seen that yet, but, so as we submit it, we'll definitely keep you guys abreast of the information we find out.
And is this going to be used for both baseball and softball?
Well, as of right now, we're just trying to get our baseball field where we could have the same opportunity there at Roswell High. And of course, they have the facility when you bring in
Yeah, our
Coke,
softball
but-
facilities are very
but-
nice at Roswell High.
Yeah.
And right now,
Some of the best.
So we're okay there. So this would kind of really bring us up to speed where we need to be with a baseball facility on the campus of Roswell High. Like I said, we do have that field, but it's at Coke, and this will just be a lot nicer where we can maintain it, where we can take care of it. It's on our campus, and we kind of can control the traffic that goes in and out a whole lot more, and that's where we're ready to go. But it will be now, depending on the amount and what we get done and all that stuff. You can rest assured we'll search for other grants and stuff that we can keep improving our facilities there at Roswell High.
And my understanding is this grant money is not going to support the use of the fields other than just for baseball and softball. Is that correct? Or do other groups use
No.
the fields?
No, really the criteria is that it it is allowed to be used by
The
local
band
and
or
regional.
soccer team?
Now, that they'll still be able to use it, but band really has their own area.
Okay.
There's really no need to, but there's nothing, because there are grounds, there's nothing that keeps us from saying, if Dr. Gomez came in and said, hey, do you mind if we borrow this area to practice
Gotcha.
marching, because our marching band's grown to 250 and we're truly the big red band now, we could actually make that accessible to, we could still use it within our academic day if we wanted to have PE classes go out there, absolutely, there's nothing that restricts that. In the spirit of what I've read, they would actually promote, it would be better, because they're wanting their money to be used to be, to expose as many children as possible to their facilities that they've helped improve. That's one of the things that I'd really like eventually is, if hopefully we have a nice field that we can extend an invitation to Lions Hondo, to New Knob and them, and say, can we have a championship on this field if it gets to that level where we would want to have those. So I think that's what really the spirit of the MLB and the MLB Players
Okay.
Association really wants.
Mr. Carrasco, have you looked into it to see what kind of documents they're gonna require that you turn in?
It's going to be from the evidence of what we've spent in the past, and to be blunt, really not, but I'm just assuming
No
that's
problem.
what it's going to
It just-
require, so.
I guess I asked that because I'm looking over the eligibility criteria, and I really feel like Mr. Cole and
Right.
his office, our Title I can help. I'm even thinking, I don't know if it's normal practice, but if we can get a letter from some central office administrators, just showing support, because one of the things is the committed leadership and dedicated staff. So if you could just go down the list and let us know
No.
what you need help with. I think we can help provide some of those things to meet that eligibility.
Absolutely, absolutely, and one of the things the one that's always the most difficult is the financial stability and sustainability. The good thing is, I think the district is pretty committed to making sure that Roswell High has a baseball team, and that it's going to be funded going forward as far as coaching stipends and uniforms and things like that. I know that's always, and the scary thing is, how will it, a lot of times you get a grant, but then you have to be promised money in the future. The nice thing about this right now is that the way it's asking is show that you've spent money, district money to update, and I think we could show that with what we've done in recent times. So I think it's a great timing. It's kind of had a very lucky moment here, very serendipitous that we came across this grant, because I think we can take that opportunity to show that. But absolutely, we will need the full district support, especially with Mr. Gottlieb's staff, to be able to prove all these things.
And I was just looking at it. They have a cycle for donation, how they do their donations. And I showed Ms. Morales real quick. It's a fill-in template, so it looks very good.
Nice. Well, good luck.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hey, may I
Thank
have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a
Aye.
second?
A second?
Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Edwards with a second by Ms. Sanchez. May I get a roll call vote?
Hope Morales.
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez.
Yes.
Lona Kirk.
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carrasco.
Thank you, Ms. Morales, board members, and Mr. Gottlieb.
Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Carrasco.
Adios, viejo.
Now we're gonna move on to the 2019-2020 fixed assets listing.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2019-2020 fixed asset as listed.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to know how difficult it was getting the inventory done without people in the building and ending at spring break.
So inventory is always a challenge.
Yeah,
Ms.
even with the
Kirk,
full staff.
Superintendent Gottlieb, President Morales, inventory is always a challenge, no matter where you go, what organization or how you're doing. But with COVID-19, it's been a real challenge. I will tell you that Monica Wright has been doing our inventory in recent years. She is our fixed asset accountant. She's also working on her certified procurement officer
Nice.
certification, and will be having that very quickly. But she's a go-getter. She's worked very hard. So some of you are familiar with Maria Hernandez, who also is our grants accountant and also does the budget for Cindy Gutierrez Charter School. So Maria used to do our inventory, and before that it was Valerie Haley and some other folks. But Maria really came into the district, and it was a game changer a few years ago. We went to some scanning devices to make it easier and more efficient. Monica Wright has picked that up and just run with it. This year, we ran a little bit behind compared to other years, but she got out there and just took care of business, and she's been working late and long hours just like everybody else, and we really appreciate her efforts and what she's done for us.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Edwards with the second made by Ms. Kirk to approve the 2019-2020 fixed asset listing. May I have a roll call vote?
Hope Morales.
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez.
Yes.
Mona Kirk.
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
Now we're gonna go on to the 2019-2020 obsolete fixed asset deletions, equipment, and technology.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2019-2020 obsolete fixed asset deletion, equipment, and technology.
Is there any discussion? I have one question. I wanted to see if we could use student desks and chairs to be donated to our families during distance learning. Is that an option? I know some of the districts around the state,
So
how
we've
are
got to
they
be real.
getting away? Is it a
Sure.
loaner or is it a?
Sure. Yes, ma'am, Mr. Morales. We've got to be real careful on the language that we use and how we approach it. I did see the article on Artesia and what they're doing. And so there are ways to do that are completely appropriate and completely legal. Same way we're handing out our Chromebooks. Those are not donated items. They're not gifts. Therefore it's not an anti-donation clause violation here in the state of New Mexico, which is part of the Constitution in the state. So you've got to be careful about how you do that. The other piece is our older stuff, and I've talked about this before, and I think any of you that would like to go see with me, some of those little chairs have sharps on them, sharp edges, and those just have to go. It's just, but certainly we've also taken a look, and our maintenance department has gotten really good over the years about kind of putting things off in different pockets or categories of wear and tear and all of those things. So I think it would be feasible to look at loaning out or distributing those items. I don't know that it would be worth it considering what we have and the shape that it's in over there, and I'd be happy to take anybody that'd like to meet me over there and show you. We're crammed to the rafters.
So is that what Artesia is doing? They're loaning the student desks?
I don't know exactly what they're doing other than what I've read in the paper. Yeah, and I won't speak to other districts and their fixed assets process. We've certainly seen some variation there in the southeast corner of New Mexico.
I would just caution the board on that, guys.
Yeah.
I agree.
We've had some issues here in the past. We want to stay away from that. In my personal opinion, the board can do whatever they want. But the other caution, as I always have to remind you, that you're liable for anything you
Yes.
send out. So it's just, as my role is to help guide the board through these process, and I'm just giving you my opinion, and you can do what you want. But in my opinion, you always got to take those things into consideration. And the good part is we do auction these things off. And a lot of families do go buy a desk for $2 and
Yeah.
a chair for $1.
But that's,
Yeah.
once it's been through the process of
Then
being
it's no
deleted
longer-
and it's no longer on our inventory, there is a process.
And our auction is set for October
Yeah.
10th.
Okay.
That's a Saturday,
And
And is it
October
for
10th.
the
Yes.
items on this list?
On the deletion, obsolete deletion,
And you
yes.
said October 1st? I'm sorry.
October 10th.
October 10th.
That's a Saturday, Saturday morning, I believe at 9.
And there's usually a viewing before, isn't there?
Say that?
Isn't there usually a viewing before?
Yeah, I think they're typically, it's,
They didn't do one the last time we did one.
Typically,
Okay.
we have in the past.
typically with an auction environment, there's a viewing. And if you wanted to drive by and see, most of that stuff is gonna come out of the building like a couple of days before the auction and be in the fenced area. Certainly, we don't want anything that could get wet and just deteriorate. But, yeah, typically with an auction, there's a viewing and depending on which vendor, there may be a little bit of change up from one year to the next.
And will the auction information be placed on the website so that we can share it out?
We certainly could. I'll put that on the,
Okay.
yeah,
Typically.
How about this, we'll get it together for Facebook and the webpage?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome to share. Thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah, just the auction information.
Okay.
And it's usually in the paper too.
Yes, it has to be in the newspaper.
Yeah.
That's
It
by
will
law.
be
By
advertised.
law.
Any other questions? Okay, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Approved? Thank you. And a second,
Second.
please. We have a motion by Mr. Edwards with a second by Ms. Sanchez to approve the 2019-2020 obsolete fixed asset deletions, equipment, and technology. May I have a roll call vote?
Hope Morales.
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez.
Yes.
Mona Kirk.
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
Okay. Now going on to the 2020-2021 fixed asset furniture transfer from RASD to SGMS.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2020-2021 fixed asset furniture transfer from Roswell Independent School District to the Signy Gutierrez Middle School.
Is there any discussion? May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Ms. Kirk with a second by Mr. Edwards to approve the 2020-2021 fixed asset furniture transfer from RASD to Sidney Gutierrez Middle School. Roll call vote, please.
Hope Morales.
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez.
Yes.
Mona Kirk.
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to reports. Mr. Gottlieb?
Ms. Morales, members of the board, I do have several things, and hopefully we can stand for some questions. I'd like Jennifer Cole real quick to go over SRB and what that means and how is it going to help us in our classrooms. Jennifer?
Yes, sir, Superintendent Gottlieb, members of the board. So on Monday and Tuesday, we'll be offering 4 sessions of learning in a virtual environment through SREB. So SREB has been one of our professional development partners in the past. They've done a lot of work with our middle schools and our high schools. The training that we'll be receiving is a national training, and I did send the attachment to Mr. Braggs. I don't know if you have that available to show the agenda.
That's okay, Royce. We got a bunch, so that's all right, Ms. Cole, go ahead.
I'm sorry, my office phone just started ringing. I'm so sorry. So there will be 4 sessions, and this was one that was offered nationally, and in a week-long session through SREB, it filled to capacity. So SREB opened another week. That one filled to capacity. And so we were able to negotiate with SREB because we have worked with them so much in the past, for about the past 4 years. And so they are going to do this for us free of charge. So we'll have capacity for 700 teachers. And so on the agenda, we have virtual activities, training protocols, cold call, thumbs up, thumbs down, Zoom basics, how to do the breakout rooms, temperature checks for SEL learning. So lots of really good opportunities for our teachers, and that will go out tomorrow. I also have, or the links to that will go out tomorrow to principals. It was just, the agenda was just finalized this afternoon. I have information on Canvas training. Would you like for me to report out on that right now?
Not yet, we'll get to that. Thank you, Ms. Cole.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Now, I've already sent the information that you sent me to the board, so they're aware of the SRB training. I would like to point out to the board, Mr. Royce and his staff have worked real hard on getting the process done for checking out our Chromebooks and making it as easy as possible during this difficult time. They are actually putting them in bags. They've been scanned. They're actually on our library system, so we can keep inventory control of them. They're as ready as we're going to possibly be. Connie Kirk went through and did all the new ones, getting all the stuff on there. So Royce and his staff have worked real hard on getting that out. The parents, most of the schools are starting, it's tomorrow's Wednesday, I lose my days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there's a couple on Saturday. And I'll have the final report for you together. They'll be passing out the books the rest of this week.
I got my robocall.
Yeah, you should have got a robocall. So there's robocalls, there's actual teachers have volunteered to call and talk to every parent. Principals have been calling, so we've been getting the information out. I will have a number for you. Actually, I'll have several things on a spreadsheet. The first of all is I promised you all our principals would watch a cleaning video from Palms and Associates. That's been done. I've already got everybody checked off. The next thing is how many parents are coming to school, how many kiddos are coming to school, how many we talked to, what's the internet access, and I'm happy to say that our internet access did go up.
Nice.
So the number of parents that do have some access points, and then I have a breakdown by school what that percentage is. So we'll have that for you coming up by the end of the week or the beginning of next week, most likely. But I wanted to point out to you how hard the tech staff worked on that and the building principals on getting that ready. And then what was really, really nice is I've been going out to the buildings. I made 4 visits today. Yesterday was Tuesday, so Monday and Friday of last week I made 4 other visits to other schools. So what I'm doing is I'm going through, checking to see how the sanitation's going on, the custodial log, see how the classrooms are going along, how they've split them up into classrooms, the 50% rule, and those things. So that's been going real well. Royce is going to talk to us a little bit about Power School. I know I talked to you a little bit about what that means. So Royce, where are we on Power School enrollment?
President, Superintendent, members of the board. So we're in the process of doing the online enrollment. We're scheduled to be finished in mid-September, about September 18th. So we're on track. So we're not going to finish any sooner. It doesn't look like we're going to finish any later. So what that does, it's going to allow parents to, enroll their kids at any school. There's a locator, so they can put in their address, and it puts them directly in the zone they're supposed to be in. They can do it from a phone, from a tablet, from a computer. So,
and it translates to any language, correct?
It's Spanish and English. Those are the two. So,
What's the cutoff date? I'm sorry.
Excuse me?
What's the cutoff date? September?
September 18th.
Thank you.
That's
at that point, they're supposed to hand it over. Yeah.
Oh, live, sorry. Yeah, okay.
And then it's available the rest of the time.
Okay.
So for our 2 building principals here, what that means is instead of having all these parents waiting in line to enroll the kids in the future, is that they can enroll online if they have a phone, a tablet, or computer. If they don't, they come to school, they do it the regular way. But this gives it the opportunity to do it online, do it ahead of time. The school then can call and make an appointment for you to show up. You even can upload your residency, your receipts, all the documents you need, so that you can do that ahead of time and get that out of the way, so that the poor secretary at the school is not inundated trying to get everything, make copies of everything. So I want to commend Royce and his staff. They've worked real hard on this project.
Well, Jennifer Bolaños has done a ton on that. She's actually done the heavy lifting for the forms and verifying those. So she definitely needs the credit for sure.
Thank you, Royce.
Yeah, I remember the long lines out the front door.
No fun.
First day of school.
No fun. Mr. Edwards has a question.
Yes, sir.
You have a question, Mr. Edwards?
Oh, no, I was just,
Okay, I just thought you had a question.
Okay.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Royce.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Medea, could you talk about we've had some questions on long-term sub-training, both you and Jennifer, please?
Did you say to talk about the training for the substitutes? Is that correct?
Yes, and then long-term training also for
Okay,
Jennifer.
I'm so sorry. I'm having a hard time hearing as well
I'll take
on the
my
phone.
mask off. It's long-term sub-training and regular sub-training, and Jennifer will talk about the long-term sub-training also, so.
Okay, great.
Thank you,
So what
Mr.
we're
Hill.
doing, I'm so sorry. So what we're doing is we are setting up some small meetings with them coming on board. We're also setting up any of the long-term subs that our principals are requesting to be placed wherever we have a vacancy with the district email. District email addresses are necessary for some of the trainings that Ms. Cole has already referenced, and then many of the trainings that are coming up. As you guys know, this year, this coming up school year is going to be like a first year for teachers again. So everybody will be learning together, and so we know that for our substitutes coming into this position this year, in a long-term position, they're really going to need that additional support. So we are working collaboratively with our curriculum and instruction department to try to make sure that we provide as much of that training to prepare our substitutes, whether they're subbing in a short-term position or in a long-term position. So we're going above the general trainings, mandatory videos, things of that nature, but also trying to make sure that they have access to how to access the different platforms and create the lessons, to do the things virtually or remotely that they're going to be required to do.
Ms. Trujillo, do you have a number, or do you have any idea how many substitutes we have at this time, and how many of those are long-term?
It looks like at this point we have 19 set up.
So that number's gone down.
And are those long-term or just regular substitutes?
Those are long-term. These are the long-term subs.
Okay, so how many do you have on the sub list altogether?
That's going to be a larger number, but we have a unique situation because some of them are not licensed yet. There is a lag time right now through the licensure department. We received notification via an update from them that they are just now starting to process the applications that were received at the beginning of June. They are anticipating about a 4-week lag time to be able to process all of those. So we have subs that are currently in the process of applying for licenses or getting those issued, and the same can be said for teachers. So even though all of that has been done electronically, because of the COVID-19 related circumstances, there is an extensive lag time on that. So we're in different situations. We also have, for example, on our long-term subs, we're having to make sure that everything is current or is in process. And of course, there's always going to be some that hadn't, filled out their reemployment form. So there's things like that of that nature that we are updating. We also clean out files. So if anyone did not pick up any jobs, last year, then we're in the process of cleaning that up. So when you see the number, we may have 300 on the list, but of those we may have, less than 200 that are active. And of those we may have, maybe 140 that are currently licensed. But again, those are very rough estimates. They're not exacts. If y'all would like a more exact total, I can get those for you.
No, not necessary for me.
Ms. Trujillo?
And I can tell you it's constantly changing
Right.
because we are trying to process them. Also, the position is open, so people are, let me just give out that plug right now that we're online, if I may. If anyone is interested in substituting, that position is open, and we are currently in the process of accepting applications and going through the certification process so that they can become subs.
Nice.
Mr. Trujillo, of our long-term subs, do you know how many of those are retired educators?
I am glancing at my list right now.
I'm hoping
It
we
looks
pass
like maybe 4 or 5 right now, and again, I'm just kind of going off of memory.
Last year, I know we had a lot of our retired educators who kind of sat out last year. Have we reached out to them this year? Is it a time now where we can get them back in the class if needed?
Yes, and we actually have a great opportunity because they have changed the criteria so that you don't have to sit out the full year now. It's the 90-day period. And so, again, just wanting to get that word out to everyone that once you've sat out those 90 days, then you're able to come back full force. Some of our subs that are retired teachers last year also limited themselves to working just like the 5 days per month or so many hours per month. And so this year there's going to be, I think, a little bit more flexibility. So we're hoping more of our teachers will take us up on that. I can tell you that the one thing that is intimidating is the virtual aspect and the remote learning.
I've heard that.
There's so much going on with Google Classroom and Canvas, and at first sight, it can be a little bit intimidating to see the use of so much technology. And I think that's where it's important that we provide that professional development so that they can learn how to use those platforms.
So I
If I
have
might
one,
also add one other thing, the state, the licensing department, the state has also provided us with a very unique opportunity that we are taking advantage of, excuse me, and that is that our EAs that hold a current license, as well as the EAs that are applying for an initial license, are now eligible to get the substitute license, and the fee is waived for the district.
oh, good.
So that is going to be a great opportunity, especially with us going into, this next academic school year where we have so many unknowns and so many variables. And so that will provide our EAs with that opportunity to be able to fill in as needed. We go by our negotiated agreement, of course, so then there's some additional compensation there. But we want to make sure that we support our EAs and that they are licensed to be able to be flexible in the buildings.
So, Ms. Trujillo, you mentioned that our subs are free to sub after 90 days layout. Now, can they come back full term? Can they do a long-term sub? Can they come back and sub as much as they want without any restrictions?
Yes, they can, and then they can contact our human resources specialist for benefits, Jessica Mendez, because everybody's situation is just a little bit different. Some might have Social Security, some, their situation might be a little bit different, and so for particulars, Jessica Mendez can look that up and provide them with that assistance.
I'm glad that changed.
Yes, and the good thing is that they are counting this time that we set out for COVID-19.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Trujillo, is there a way that we are communicating these changes out there publicly so that some people that may not be aware, we're making them aware?
Yes, through Jessica Mendez, our benefits specialist in HR.
Thank you.
So what you're looking for is more public? What's Ms. Morales is asking is if we could get more out on our webpage and probably Facebook, so that information is out to a larger group. I understand what she's getting at, so I'll talk to you about that, Mr. Hill.
Okay, so perhaps we could do that on the human resource page and maybe put some links there.
Yes.
I think that might be a good place to do it, but we'll definitely explore that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Royce is going to give us an update on the wireless connections at our schools that our parents can connect to with the Chromebooks that we're checking out.
President, Superintendent, members of the board, we are installing outside wireless to all of the schools in the district, Parkview, all the elementaries, all the middle schools, all the high schools, not including early college high school, since that's at the college. We don't own that place. So all the infrastructure should be completed by the end of this week. We still are waiting on some items before the vendor can complete the install, but as soon as they come in, we're told they're not going to be until the 1st, but they might come in sooner. I ask every day just in case that changes. What this will allow, students to come and connect their school-owned devices. They can't connect their own devices, and nobody who doesn't belong to the district can connect a device on there. So that keeps our network secure. We will be creating maps to show the areas of coverage for each location once we do get it completed, and we can look and see exactly where they do install everything. So.
And where the map's going to be located so parents can find that.
Oh, we'll probably put those on the web page, probably on social media like we do everything. So we'll get to Jerry so he can put the social media up. We'll have Brian Yates put everything up on the website. So we'll get that information out there that way.
Royce,
Anybody have any questions?
I have one question. I talked to some families and they may have 3 children sharing, they may have their own personal device and utilizing a district device.
Mm-hmm.
If they go to one of our locations, they cannot connect with their own iPad
No, ma'am.
or laptop or.
No, ma'am. We don't allow any devices on our network except the devices we have absolute control over.
Yeah.
And if you remember our outbreak last year, you'd understand why. We're even more strict about that than we were
So
before.
as part of the communication, if we can make that note in there so they don't don't take their personal device and call you thinking
I'll,
there's
I'll
an
make
issue.
sure, I'll make sure that's clear when we put the maps up. So,
Royce, that'd probably be a good thing to send to building principals. I didn't even think about that, and I haven't told the building principals. I have another Zoom meeting with them Friday, but so,
I'll send an email out to all of them and let them know for sure. The ones I've talked to, I have told them that.
okay.
But I'll send one out to the whole, group.
But at this time, we're checking out a lot of Chromebooks. And so I think we're gonna be at capacity at checkout. So as you know, we got 350 more coming. Once we get the rest of that grant in, and then somewhere down the road, another 1,000 will come in. I don't know if it's December or March, but they're on order.
Good. So, Mr. Braggs, is there a limit or a capacity limit at those hot spots if 50 people drive up to log on?
The more
What's gonna-
the more people, the worse the connection.
Okay.
That's just how
But we
it
have
is.
how many, for example, Roswell High has 4 connections.
Roswell High has 3, I think. I
Three.
think they have 3
Three.
access points. So there's a wide area.
So if you're,
And the way wireless works as well is, you know, there are unseen waves that we have no control over on the outside. So we may have issues that happen where we're not sure what's going on. It is not a perfect scenario, but it does provide a means for the students to connect and be able to get their updates. I can get you the specifics on what the vendor says that the specs are on those for everybody, and we can put, you know, we could put those up. But I'm not sure that's something that
yeah, I
you
don't
know.
think it's necessary. Really, I just think it's, knowledge is enlightenment. So just letting them know that if there's a central location and everybody's huddled around that one, you might want to
Yeah.
venture off to the others.
And again, there may be a school that they don't necessarily attend that's closer for them.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So they can go to any of the schools and connect after we have these up. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Ms. Sanchez has
And
a
the
question.
parents are still having to sign a contract to check
Yeah.
those out? Okay.
Mr. Gallup, I have a question. I think it's for you. I know the schools are starting to call parents to find out about the Chrome device and all that, but what about our parents who don't have phone numbers in Power School?
That's one of the issues. That's why you heard on Monday's radio program that we went to is, I've been pleading with the parents as much as
Update your
possible.
information.
We need your updated information. Because if we don't have your new address or your new phone number, we can't connect with you. For example, 3 principals already got all their surveys into me today. All the computers they've checked out, all the internet access where they're having problems. Who wants packets? Because we still have parents that said, listen, we don't want to deal with this. We'll pick up the packets, we'll drop them off. We know this is for attendance, we know for grades, so we'll have that number for you. And then we have that percentage of people that we have not been able to contact. I mean, and if actually some, much against my wishes right now, some have even gone out to their homes to try to locate them. So that happened. So the secretaries are now back in their buildings, and there are people are starting to come in and start looking for registration.
Are we gonna make an attempt to send a letter to those ones that we haven't contacted, or I'm just afraid if maybe they don't have a phone number to give? So, could we utilize our truancy officers to make a home visit? It's just what additional effort are we making for that small
We don't have
population?
truancy officers anymore. I have a Zoom meeting with building principals, and I can tell you the 3 that already sent their stuff in, already tried to make contact, but I'll see about a letter. Let me write
So I
myself a
think
note,
one of the
please.
schools sent a letter for the student passwords or something. I'm just trying to think. Some of our parents don't have phones.
Okay.
I also think on the form it asks if you don't have a phone, if you have a contact number. And typically, there is that on there too, so, yeah, but a third way to locate them may not.
And
Not
I
a
will
bad
add that to
idea.
my Zoom meeting for principals that
Bring
we're
that up.
having coming up.
Thank you.
No other questions?
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
Royce.
you.
Thanks,
you.
Royce.
Thank you.
I'm going to have Chad go over the audit report real quick, and I know we're not done with the audit, but I want him to bring the board up to date on that. And I know you've received some questionnaires from the audit, so Chad, a quick update on the audit, where we are, where we stand, and anything the board need to be aware of for no surprises.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gottlieb, Ms. Morales, members of the board. So the audit is going really well. I'll just tell you that part of audit is year-end inventory with the auditors, rollover of your new school year, first payroll. All of those things have gone really well. So we achieved rollover, inventory, first payroll last month. So that's long in the books. The audit also started last month. We had conducted our entrance conference with our auditors. Mr. Edwards is on that committee. I will need to get another board member. I believe Mr. Getty was on the committee.
Yeah, and I said
And
I would, because
Okay.
originally I was on it.
Yes.
And then I passed on to him because he didn't have a committee, so I'll pick that back up.
So the audit is underway. They've started their first week of field work. A lot of that done virtually, basically us sending them a lot of information and then hitting us with questions, all of those things. Audit is going very well at this point. We're ahead of the schedule, typically where we would be at this point in the year. From prior years. This is an experienced crew. They've been doing our audit for the last 3 years. They are very well regarded throughout the state, and we've used them lifetimes ago here in Roswell, and so that relationship is going really well. Up to this point, we do know of one audit finding, and so I'll just tell the board and superintendent. One of the things I always press on auditors, particularly new auditors, when they enter your building, are two things, really. I want an on-time audit. Our audit is due no later than November 15th of every year. Here's what happens, or here's kind of the trickiness involved with that. The language of the statute says not when it's been received by the state auditor, but when it's been approved by the state auditor. So we may have submitted a week before November 15th, and the state auditor may have said, you know what, you forgot to dot this I, you forgot to cross this T, we're kicking it back to you, fix these things, send it back to us, you go to the back of the queue, so we may not see you again for another week. And what happens if it's not accepted, air quotes, by November 15th, it's an automatic audit finding. So an audit finding of that nature for late audit is something there's really no excuse for. And so I always press that with any new auditors that come in our building is we want an on-time audit, and I'm going to press you the whole way. The other thing that's very important is we want to know the audit findings as you come across them. I don't come at the exit meeting and tell us, oh, by the way, we've got this list of findings for you that we just put together in the last 5 minutes, and then we're gone. So I always stress to them, please don't do that to me. I will, I'll do things. But so those are the two major things. And up to this point, we have one audit finding that we know of. We knew about it last year, and that's okay. But we have no other audit findings that I'm aware of, that the committee is aware of. And of course, we do always have 2 board members on that committee. That's very important from year to year. Transparency is a very important thing with audit. I know we've seen in years past where we didn't actually have the auditors present the results of the audit to the school board. That is a problem. And I'll just tell you, I'll give you the example of a large state agency that did a lot of financing here in New Mexico. That did that. They didn't have their independent auditors come in and present that to their board, and their finance person created his own financial statements and put their name on it and said it was theirs. So tricks and games, but that's one of the ways you avoid that is by having an independent being the key word. They're independent of us, they're independent of local politics, all those things. They're just here to do a job. So I'll tell you, the audit is going very well. I really appreciate the crew. I certainly appreciate my staff and all the work they've been doing to get those documents to them, particularly Linda Purcella and Maria Hernandez. But really, in general, the entire staff have really put forth the effort, and we're ahead of schedule.
Any questions for Chad?
Chad,
Okay.
I just had one question. Do we have
Yes, ma'am.
community members that sit on the audit committee?
We do. Well, we've got several people on the audit committee. We've got the charter school principal, Joe Andreas. We have 2 board members. We have myself, we have Maria, and we have Linda. So depending on how you want to define those people, we've got a parent. We've got a couple of parents.
Outside of the, outside of being employed with the district?
No.
Could we reserve one of those seats for somebody that doesn't have a connection, like a parent?
We
not
certainly
employed?
could.
Well,
We certainly
I'm not employed
could.
by the district.
But you're a board.
Yeah, but I'm not employed by the district. I don't have any, I don't gain or lose by being on it because I have the ties to the district as a board member.
Right.
But I'm not tied, and my connection with the district is, hey, I sit back and mute. Yeah, exactly what you just said.
I
You
think
know,
we could have another reserve a spot still for a community member.
When you start doing that, you start playing politics, and I'm just going to put it out there. You start playing politics because you might want somebody, I might want somebody, and I'm going to tell you, the group that we deal with, they're very good. They also have correct me if I'm wrong, there's a person that we can contact that's locally here,
Yes, sir.
and he works for the company.
Yes.
So the audit, I like the way that it's currently handled, because when you start putting community members on, then it becomes me against you, you against her, vice versa, because we're going to have to vote on that person.
And if I could just chime in just real quickly on that particular point. So we meet the requirements of the statute. We always have, always will, and we do keep eyes on the statute and for any evolutions there each year. So we do meet the statutory requirements. I should have, when I was talking about audit findings as we go, as opposed to all at the end, I should have also mentioned that our audit and its results and the findings and all the things that can be gossiped about are confidential until we receive what's called the 5-day letter from the Office of the State Auditor. And so they release that. That's after you've submitted your audit, they've reviewed your audit, and then you finally get a letter from them that's called the 5-day letter. And once you receive that letter, you have 5 days before you can publicly, put it out there. And that's before we take it to the board at the board meeting. I'll get that 5-day letter, and that's when I'll put it on the agenda for them to present to you. And I'll just tell you that I know from experience in looking at other districts, some of the drama that comes with audit, and some folks try to use it as a tool or a weapon, and I won't go into all that, but I'll just tell you that we've worked very hard to keep a clean audit. I personally take offense when I see audit findings, and the first thing I want to do is correct them, clean them up, and improve. And so, but the entire team, the entire staff feels that way, and we've kind of developed that culture. So, without going any further,
No, that's great input. Good perspective.
The last thing I have, board members, Chad, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Is, as you well know, our learning management system came to us from the state. The state's worked real hard. Gwen Warnerman, if you don't know Gwen Warnerman, she's a lovely lady. Outstanding, I think, PED representative, probably one of the strongest ladies I've worked with in a long time out of the PED. It canvasses our learning system, and board members, I'm going to tell you, It's tough. It's tough. Now, once we get to the point where we've all learned it and used it, people won't give it up. One of the nice things about this is it will connect us straight to the universities, wherever they go. Almost all the universities use Canvas. So if you've been a Canvas learner before, you were already on it at the universities. Being an instructor on it and creating your stuff is a little bit different. So I know you're going to have some complaints. I know you're going to have some issues because it is something new and it is very unique in its system. We were fortunate that the state paid for it. We are going to have to go back to Zoom. We were hoping to use the big blue button as one of our communication tools. We're not. So Royce is helping me with Zoom and getting Zoom back up, getting enough licenses for all our staff. I am going to have Ms. Cole give you a brief view of what kind of the learning system look like, the Canvas system. We have one made up for you. We have some internal teachers now that are coaching and doing a real good job, a lot better, in my opinion, than I've seen the Canvas people do. So Jennifer, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, sir. So we have two different trainings happening with Canvas. We have one that PED is offering for us, and there's a calendar on PED's website, and we have our website also linked up with it, and so they're offering at least one training every day. So I'm sure that many of our teachers are participating in those trainings. And then we have some trainings that we're offering in district, and we're using our own district people who have been using Canvas and have experience, and they're just doing a really great job with supporting our staff. And so we have Lucy Hall, who is one of our new assistant principals at Roswell High. So she's provided some sessions to our administrators and to the Roswell High staff. Then we have Shauna Arthurs, who's a UHS teacher, and she's been providing some training. And then we have Nick Biggs, and he's been providing a lot of trainings to our district. So he's provided trainings for our administrators and for teachers. He did a training for the staff at Valley View, and he did a training at Roswell High. And so he has some more that he'll be offering. And then we have Beth Smith, who is a teacher at Military Heights, and she's been offering some trainings. And so Mr. Biggs sent, I asked him to send some screenshots of what Canvas looks like so you all could take a look at what teachers can see and how they set up their classrooms. And so I can't see the screen very well. I'm trying to watch it on my computer. I don't know, Royce, if you can enlarge one of those for Mr. Biggs or not.
The first, we're looking at where Abraham Lincoln is, the American flag.
Okay, thank you. So now I can see. And so you can see that first one on the left would be his first period class at Early College High School. And so those students who are in that class would just click on that link and they would find their assignments and they would find their syllabus. And then the same thing, you go on to the next one and there's his second period class. And so so this is how they would access their content. And then do you want the other slides, Mr. Braggs?
Okay, so we're looking now at the U.S. History Weekly Lesson Plan.
Yes. Okay. So you can see he has a chat room set up. He has a place where they can access their grades, the different modules and assignments within U.S. History. And so we can't click on this, obviously, it's just a screenshot, but this is how he has his page set up. And so with that weekly lesson plan, or a week at a glance, parents could log on to their students' Canvas and take a look at what that weekly lesson plan would be, so they always know what's coming.
The nice thing about this, board members, is as you move forward through the years, this is now available for any parent to say, instead of saying, I don't know what's going on in class or what's being taught, they can actually look now and see what's being taught, whether remote or just everyday class, the face-to-face teaching, which we want to get back to.
So when will this stuff
Yes.
this actually go online?
Mr. Edwards' question is, when is this supposed to go online? It should be August 20th, right, Ms. Cole?
Actually, it's up and running right now, and so our teachers can access it, and I have some data for you. So we have 630 teachers who are integrated with Canvas right now, and so far we've had 420 of those teachers access their Canvas page and begin working on it. We're offering the learning stream, the Canvas trainings through Learning Stream. So just today, we had a training at 3 o'clock. We had 58 teachers participate in today's training. So far, we have 38 teachers enrolled in tomorrow's training. We have 14 teachers enrolled in the training scheduled for August the 14th. And so our teachers are accessing those trainings. They're signing up. They're providing feedback. There's a survey. So if there's something that they need, and this is a learning thing. I mean, this is brand new, and so for a lot of us, we're hands-on learners, and we have to start actually using it and just navigating the system before we really understand how to use it. So there's lots of opportunities for the teachers, and we'll continue to provide those. We'll offer some after-school trainings. We'll offer some Saturday trainings to support them. But just based on those numbers, you can see that they're really jumping in and doing some training themselves.
Ms. Cole, how many are using Seesaw? Do you have any numbers on that yet?
So we're still we've struggled with getting access to Seesaw. We finally were able to finalize that purchase, and so we're integrating the Seesaw system, and so that will be for our kinder, first, and second grade teachers, and hopefully we'll have that ready by the time school starts. But that was not on us. It was just communication with the company and just some lag time in getting response from them. But our elementary teachers really like Seesaw, and they like Class Dojo also. It seems that the majority of them prefer Seesaw, but we've given some our building principals some authority to use the tool that best fits their school with those two. And then I also just wanted to speak, if you don't mind, Mr. Gottlieb, on the long-term subs and the new teacher orientation. So we're also offering these trainings through new teacher orientation, and we've had a team of people over here just working day and night on getting these trainings up and running. So we have Jim Bolaños and Heidi and Jory and our lead teachers throughout the district that have been working on establishing this. So this Thursday and Friday, we have our new teacher orientation. There will be a session on the culturally and linguistically responsive curriculum. We'll have some Harry Wong procedures. We'll have a session, a 3-hour session on virtual learning and how to set up a virtual classroom, how to use Zoom, creating social emotional learning environments. And so lots of great opportunities for those new teachers. And then we'll replicate that on August the 26th, that Wednesday, for our long-term subs. Now, the reason we couldn't include the long-term subs in the new teacher orientation is because of numbers, because on this, we want them to be able to physically visit classrooms, and so we have to keep them in small, socially distanced groups. And because of the number of new teachers that we have, we just didn't have this space capacity to add in the long-term subs, which is okay because we'll be able to individualize some training for the long-term subs on August the 26th. And then we'll have ongoing monthly PD for long-term subs and for our short-term substitutes too, because they also need our substitutes who pick up jobs for 1 or 2 days. They also need training and support in classroom management. So we'll be offering that to them on each month as well.
Ms. Cole, do you know how many of our parents participated in the parent universities?
No, ma'am, I don't have those numbers.
Is it my understanding though, if parents can go back, is there a recording on the website if they want to go back and access it?
So that was through YouTube, and I don't know, Mr. Braggs, if you have those numbers or if we can get those numbers.
Or is there a way for parents to go back and view the training again, or have they missed the opportunity?
No, they haven't missed it. It's posted on the website.
Okay.
Okay, so long as it's there. So just to know on Canvas, it's going to take us a while. And it will take some people much longer than normal, as the learning curve always is very different. Just to let you know, the board, we're working on it. We're not going to just say, okay, we've done 3 trainings, we're done. That's not going to work. It's going to be quite a bit of training, an extensive amount of training. It's going to take for a longer period of time. That's all I have, Mr. Cole, financial. Anything on that tonight?
Just, we're waiting on the finalized budget cut to the operational fund from PED. Looking at the numbers, we think it's going to be right around $4.5 million that we'll be cutting from the budget as it stands right now. But before I give you exact numbers and say this is rock solid in stone, I'd like to get that information from PED. My understanding, it's been pretty fluid up there recently. There's been some other talk of other units and values that associated and combined together for those dollars. So until I can put it to you in writing and say with certainty, I'd like to hold off on giving you exact numbers, but right around the neighborhood of 4.5 million cut.
Okay, is that 4.5 million this cycle?
Yes, sir.
And then in January, is that going to be a different cycle?
So
Careful how you answer that, Mr. Cole.
I will. I will. No, it's a great question. It really is, because we're on a fiscal year. It started July 1. We'll end June 30th. So after Christmas or after December, the statute allows the Secretary of Education to adjust, increase or decreased unit value from initial unit value to final unit value. So now here's where it gets confusing. We built this budget on an initial unit value. We recently got word after the special legislative session in House Bill 1's effects that there's going to be a budget adjustment to the initial unit value. So they are calling that the initial adjusted unit value. Then after we get to January, then the secretary can come out and change it again. That is called the final unit value. The other thing that House Bill 1 provides them is an additional 2% that they can cut after those cuts, if they choose to make cuts there, depending on how the economics, the projections versus the actual. So you always build budget based on projected figures, and then as your actuals come in throughout the year, you can firm those up a little bit better. So right now we're looking at projections. Hopefully actuals are better than projections.
Okay.
Good question, Mr. Edwards.
So does that mean we do have the dollar amount for our SCG?
Yes, ma'am. So we've got a ballpark for the SCG.
Okay.
It's going to be the $4.5 million cut that we're looking at. I know it's been talked about. Well, I won't get into percentages. It's been talked about as a 1.5. It's really, that's if you're comparing where we're going to where we were last year. But what we built this budget on, which I think is important for everybody to understand, it will be a 4.5 thereabouts million dollar cut, which is closer to a 4.76% cut. Yes, ma'am. And I'll get you exact numbers as soon as I'll certainly give them to Mr. Gottlieb and pass them along.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Morales, we now have your areas. Board communication.
So if you all have your calendars, if you want to get it out so we can look at, we want to have a board retreat in September. I believe our lawyer, Tony Ortiz, wants to come down to do some of the training with us. He has given 2 dates so far that he's available, September 22nd or the 24th. Mr. Edwards, you might have something going on. Is it the whole week that you have something going on that week?
What date does that 22nd fall on?
Tuesday.
Okay.
So
that's
Tuesday or
probably-
Thursday?
That Tuesday is probably better for me.
And that works for me.
And Ms. Sanchez?
That'll work.
Okay. So September 22nd, Mr. Gottlieb, for our board retreat. And then for our District 3 vacancy, so far, we have one applicant. Their applications are due by this Friday. We talked about at the last board meeting, having interviews sometime next week. So I wanted to see if you all wanted to look at your schedule. I think if we plan for one specific day, that morning or afternoon, and we could try to do the interviews at that time.
So can we back up just a second? I'm sorry, my calendar is a little bit slow, or maybe it's my fingers. September the 22nd, are we going to do that Tuesday? Board
Yes.
retreat, are we looking at morning, say at 9 a.m.?
Did Mr. Tony tell us what times would be good for him?
In the past, we were gonna start at 8:30.
So 9 o'clock would be a safe time, because he's gonna have to travel.
Right.
So
Okay.
9 o'clock?
Okay,
And based on the agenda we had for this summer, it might be closer to a full day if we
Okay.
use that same agenda.
that's fine.
That was
Okay,
kind of
and
the
then,
question.
I'm sorry, what was your next one, Ms. Morales?
Looking at next week for us to pick a day to do interviews for the District 3 candidates.
Okay, next week, starting.
And next week, yeah, it starts the 17th.
Okay.
Any specific day of the week that works best for
Morning
folks?
or afternoon?
I know in the ones that we've done in the past, they were in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Maybe for
Or,
folks that
yeah.
work.
And depending on how many applicants you have, you stagger them, but normally it was done in the
did
afternoon.
in the afternoon, I agree.
What about Tuesday afternoon,
Next Tuesday?
or evening, or Wednesday?
I like Friday the 18th.
Tuesday is the 18th for August.
Oh, August, that's September. Okay, August the,
17.
I like August 21st. Did y'all want to go earlier than that?
I have state committee meetings Friday morning and afternoon,
Okay,
but the other days are
so
better.
you're saying,
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday?
Those are good.
Tuesday?
Whatever you,
Tuesday I have ETZ. I
What
have my
time is that?
zoning at 5:30.
well, let's go Wednesday then.
Okay.
The 18th?
The 19th?
It's the 19th,
Oh,
Wednesday, the
19th.
19th.
Or the 20th.
The 19th is that Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday 19th or Thursday the 20th.
Just do the Wednesday.
And what time do y'all want to start? At
Okay.
5 o'clock for working folks, or 4?
Depending on, oh golly,
Yeah, how many candidates? I say
Depending-
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you normally give them about 30 minutes each, or an hour?
Well, since we added questions, it will probably be closer to an hour this time. Okay, so that's August the 8th, no,
No,
19th.
Wednesday, the 19th,
19th.
starting at 4 p.m. for 1-hour interview slots.
Okay.
And will we do it here in the boardroom? Is this a good location?
I didn't do mine.
What'd you do yours?
I did it on the old side. It's cool.
Any other questions for the board retreat or the District 3 interviews?
Board retreat will be in here.
Yes. We can control the environment and cleanliness and those things.
And so do we want to have a special meeting to vote on the District 3 vacancy, or should we discuss that next week after? How do we want to?
Normally, what we do is if we interview the candidates, and if there's a motion taken to accept the
At that point.
At that same day?
yes.
Okay,
Right
Oh.
after we interview.
Right.
okay.
And it all has to be done open session.
So we need to make sure we get that posted by.
Posted, yeah. Yes, interviews
open-
and
open meeting.
possible decision. Because if we,
Because it becomes an action item.
and if we need to,
So it's a special meeting?
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to keep in mind, I read in the paper that the Daily Record is no longer going to be printing on Saturday or Monday.
That
I saw
started
that too.
September, I think that said September 6th.
Just
Yeah.
need to remember that
Right.
Yeah,
for the 72 hour.
So if we can get that posted by Friday, that'll give us
This Friday?
plenty of time. Mhm.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, well, this is the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
May I have a
I
second?
second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
I think there's.
James Edwards?
I didn't even respond.
Yeah, I don't
There's-
think
I do-
we
Everybody is just too
Did I
excited to get. Yes.
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 Okay, gotcha. None of you did responding before I got James Edwards said.
Thank you.